Parking issues take center stage during this week's planning board meeting. Special wheelchairs are helping individuals with disabilities have access to the beach, and parking meters in town will soon go online. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Tuesday, July 15th, 2014. I'm Sarah Mantle. The Planning Board is considering ways to improve parking in busy downtown Hyannis. The board held a workshop to talk about parking solutions at its meeting last night. Chair Matt Tagg says the town should consider engaging a public-private partnership to tackle the problem.
So this issue's come up several times. In front of the board, I remember back to the issue of the Brazilian Grill trying to buy the antique shop and then create the parking, but how do you regulate it? The zoning doesn't allow it. There's definitely a need in the entire downtown, Main Street area. Should we look at, as a planning board or a town combined through the council and the town manager, of looking at some advertised solutions that other places have used, whether it's a private ground lease for a parking garage, 30 years or otherwise, which has been done across the state and across the country in many cases. To look at building a parking garage, which can be tastefully designed and located and be operated by a private entity. It happens, it's all over the place, and it's very commonly done, and in many cases with a lot of success. The other issue is enforcement, and I think it's getting better. It's very prevalent, and I know the areas that are of concern are very heavily enforced, but I mean, that's a very difficult challenge when there's so many different ways and areas to park, and really how is it all combined and managed under one umbrella. I go back to this idea of a private-public partnership in terms of parking and the ability to support that. And I'll relay a story that I'm not sure many of our members are aware of, but I remember sitting here for the town council meeting, and maybe some of you guys were here, and we watched them vote in, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was about $90,000 to buy new parking machines for like the 20 spaces that are down there. Okay. So there's obviously there's some capital investment required to do this properly. B, if it makes financial sense, then why would we be spending that sort of money on machines that are only 3 to 5 years old, and we heard that they were outdated and they didn't work and they weren't the latest technology and those sorts of things. So there's an incentive there to do this properly and to do it in a smart and controlled manner. And I push for that public-private solution. Maybe the town offers some land. They look at some RFPs and some potential ways to manage the site and to maximize the parking with both an aesthetic concern and a safety concern, and take a look at it.
Planning Board member Felicia Penn says area businesses need to be more involved when it comes to finding parking solutions.
I'd like to frame this almost, if we could, as not just solving a parking problem, but almost as enforcing compliance equally for businesses in town. When we have a business, we had a hotel recently that wanted to expand the building, a 4-story addition, et cetera, and the problem that came up was parking. And we must have spent more time discussing parking than we did almost any other issue involved with that project. Brazilian Grill, Matt already spoke about. When there's a major project in town that comes before the planning board, every single time, one of the issues that we review is parking. When we talked about the Mr. Kirker buying the old car dealership, I guess it was a GM car dealership before, and now it's Ford. One of the things we talked about was parking. Part of that is because they have to put the inventory there, but the other part of that is traffic control, this and that, whatever. But it seems that this town has never had the appetite to look at that whole south of South Street area and look at the marine transportation business, the ferries, the recreational boats, et cetera, look at it as a business, that requires parking. And therefore, they have never, ever, ever stepped up to the plate and required the business to solve the parking problem, or businesses, okay? It's not one business, it's a conglomeration of lots of them, okay? To solve the parking problem there. And that's always been mind-boggling to me. So the first question I think we need to know in order to go forward from this is, does the town now have the appetite to do that? I don't know the answer to that, but they've never had the appetite in the past to take care of that. And so, typical me, I went into our planning zoning book, and I read section 240-48, the purpose of off-street parking regulations. So it says, it's the purpose of this article that all new, expanded, or intensified uses within the town of Barnstable provide adequate off-street parking. So if you just read that sentence and nothing else in this section, it clearly puts the burden of solving the parking problem on the business, the uses, the businesses that have the required uses for the parking. And it further goes and says, no use shall be intensified without providing adequate off-street parking. That's all it says. It's pretty clear. The only exception to that is residential, okay? We're not talking about residential here. We're talking about commercial in the Harbor District. So I think if we look at this with that in mind, it makes it so much easier to form public-private partnerships.
3 planning board members will attend a meeting with Assistant Town Manager Mark Els next week to continue the discussion. Beach wheelchairs are making it possible for ill or disabled individuals to access Barnstable beaches. MEA Administrative Assistant Debbie Lavoie read 2 letters of thanks from residents that made use of the wheelchairs at Sandy Neck Beach.
There is a correspondence from July 12th that says, Dear Ms. Lavoie, I wanted to share the following Independence Day story with the board of Sandy Neck Beach. My 10-year-old son is very ill and unable to walk independently. As his health has deteriorated over the past year and a half, one of the things we had to forego are beach trips. If we managed to get onto the beach, he could no longer sit in the edge of the water without tipping over. This 4th of July weekend, however, the Sandy Neck wheelchair changed that. It afforded him a different type of independence, a new freedom. The freedom to be a kid and play at the beach, a freedom for which words cannot express our gratitude. Hopefully a picture can. From the bottom of the heart, we thank you. Please tell your board.
Wow.
Wonderful.
That's awesome. Very nice.
Then there was a second letter that said, we are a local family with 2 daughters, ages 8 and 5. I just wanted to say how wonderful the Sandy Neck Park Beach is. Our 8-year-old daughter has had the pleasure of being part of the turtle release program from her school, which I got to be a part of when the turtles were released. Also helping us get our younger daughter to the water. She is in a wheelchair, and one of the most favorite things for her to do is swim or just be in the ocean. Without the wheelchairs that are available on the beach, that would be impossible. I cannot thank the staff enough for all the help they have provided to make every stay at the beach amazing. From delivering the chair to where we were parked and making sure our stay at the beach is doing well. It makes a huge difference in my life. Just imagine the difference it makes in my daughter's.
And Town Council will vote on accepting more beach wheelchairs donated by Smile Mass this Thursday night. A reminder to residents that the parking meters on the municipal lot on Ocean Street will soon be online. Director of Regulatory Services Richard Scally anticipates that the meters will begin operation Monday, July 21st. Abutters, including residents and businesses, can purchase a parking pass for the lot for $75. Contact Regulatory Services for more details. Well, a special book commemorating the town's 375th anniversary is now available for sale in the town clerk's office. The book highlights each of our town's 7 villages, including a report on happenings over the past 25 years. A walking map of historical sites in each village is also included. Copies are available for $10 each at the town clerk's office right here in Town Hall. Well, be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 7 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we'll talk with Director of Growth Management Joanne Miller-Buntich and Finance Director Mark Milne. Plus, we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.